Everybody good? Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. This is the Uwchlan Township Board of Supervisors workshop meeting for the month of April. And just so you're aware, the meeting is being recorded and live streamed online. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. And we'll start with our business agenda today. Number 1 is the Downingtown East High School expansion post-development traffic impact study discussion. Mr. Cagle?
What should make Tara do this? As part of the high school's expansion project, one of the conditions was post-development traffic impact study. The school district went through and did that. We received the results in December 20th. Our traffic engineer Bowman went through and evaluated that and had a number of recommendations and provided us a kind of a review letter of that. And I think we wanted to have some conversation around the traffic study and the recommendations there. So with us today, we're very, very thankful to have representatives from the school district, Dale Lawver, who regrettably is retiring, and we're losing at sometime here in the near future. Then his replacement, Kelly Harper, is here. And then we have some representatives from the school board as well. And then our traffic engineer, Matt Kosic from Bowman, is here as well to talk through it. So maybe we didn't actually plan this out very well, and I apologize, but maybe Matt could give some highlights of his review and the recommendations, and then we can just have an open dialogue around it all.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here. The school district did the post-development study, helped us to gauge kind of where things are with how traffic is operating out there at several intersections. Did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it was 6 or 7 intersections in the study. And generally, really not a whole lot of surprise, I think, in what the study shows. It's kind of, in existing conditions, shows what's happening out there today. With the expansion they did, didn't really, obviously, increase the number of students or necessarily the number of vehicles coming in or out, but it helped to gauge what's going on out there today, what types of levels of service are at each intersection. There are some queuing issues on Devon Drive, as the study notes, and as we have noted in our field views that we've done ourselves, being out there during the morning and afternoon school peaks. So I don't know if you want me to get into actually, some of these items, but basically what we were envisioning was certainly the township is moving towards, and you can weigh in better than I can, but I think certainly, multimodal, pedestrian access, that kind of thing, connectivity, last mile connections, et cetera, et cetera. So there are areas around the school campus and the school area there, the middle school, the high school, and the elementary school, not just necessarily even between the schools, which there is some need, but also along 113 and Devon Drive, where some connectivity would be helpful. So some of these things we mentioned in the letter would be great to do. I think that would help, the community in general, as well as multimodal access to the school. I can get into more detail if you'd like, but that's it in general.
Everyone, don't speak at once.
Yeah, sure. Like under item 3 on page 2, we talk about along 113 that it would be great to add sidewalk On the east side of 113, from the elementary school all the way down to the middle school is one of the recommendations. At the intersection of 113 and Devon Drive, just optimizing the traffic signal timings there could be helpful to make the intersection run a little more efficiently. There is a damaged traffic signal pole in the northwest corner that should be replaced. And then the north side of Devon Drive along where the bank and the Rossi property down to Calvary Lane would be great to add sidewalk along that north side of Devon Drive, if you want to call it the northwest quadrant of the intersection there. And then on Devon Drive, there's some gaps in sidewalk between from 113 up to the park. And this is on the north side of Devon Drive. And then from about the YMCA down to Whitford, just to sort of make that full connection from Whitford all the way to 113 on the north side of Devon Drive. At Whitford and Devon Drive itself, I know there's been talk of a traffic signal there for a while. We did run traffic signal warrant analysis, just a very quick analysis with some of the volumes and the information that traffic planning and design provided on behalf of the school district. And it's currently still does not meet warrants for a traffic signal there today. As traffic increases there, it may one day, but right now it does not. But we felt that a new ped crossing on the west leg of Devon Drive and the north leg of Whitford, in conjunction with extending the sidewalk that we're recommending, would again just help connectivity around that intersection to provide full pedestrian access around that entire intersection.
I'm not sure this is a question for you, but is there even space along between on 113 from the elementary school down to the intersection of Devon and 113? My memory of that section is that it's kind of a water channel. Yeah. Yeah, I agree that there's parts that aren't ideal for sidewalk extension. I'm not even sure. So, there's already like that backup, that little temporary driveway that gets closed from time to not temporary, but sometimes it closes open between the two.
Students and so between the middle school and high school come out further walk there.
Yeah.
Up to the corner and the new crosswalk we just put in. So also if I had a kid, I thought like that's just a short span between that's also that's where walk up the traffic between people. And then of course we did a crosswalk for the Y, someone going through that will be able to Y. That's why we put the crosswalk in down that way.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, one of the things working well.
A sidewalk, you mean, or a crosswalk?
Even if there's a sidewalk, guardrail. So I'm wondering who's walking down the sidewalk, who's walking like single. Because there's no those. Is there anything, retail that people. Understand. I agree with Dale that if I think I then should use the path with it, feels safer and like across the wall. I'm just wondering who would utilize, who would be, you know, the best use of money to sidewalk in that spot.
There's no connections beyond that front of the school, so we'll get pinned with that all the way.
And I think if there are, there may be some walkers, kid, like parents and kids walking to that elementary school, I'm expecting we're probably using those sidewalks along high school, you know, and then going through that gate, or the playground is. It's, yeah, I don't know, along.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I think our thought is it moves us towards better connectivity throughout the township. You know, that the more sidewalk we have, the better, in general.
I have a, you know, how. Did you go?
Yeah, I mean, there certainly is pedestrian traffic that goes between the LYA fields up to the elementary school. It's just a matter of whether you're familiar enough with the area to navigate up through the properties, or I think your inclination is instinctually to follow, like you said, that, you know, you have 113 or you have these, what seems like a more direct path. But I think it's worth taking a look at continuing to build out the connectivity. I know that intersection has like sidewalks at all the corners now that PennDOT put in, and most of them go nowhere. So again, it's just kind of like, as the community continues to build in density, I think we have to look to put that infrastructure in now, imagining that in the future there's going to be, it's going to continue to develop and be more used.
The one issue I see with the pedestrian, what I've seen with LYA park being used is when on, especially on the weekends, when there's teams that want to go over to the Wawa, and we want to encourage them to go to the crosswalks, because there's a lot of kids that like to zip across. Of course, there's a crosswalk not that far down on the middle school, and they're just skipping it. So I'm not sure how much additional sidewalks would help that problem. I'm always afraid someone's gonna get hurt there.
I think generally speaking, the improvements that were implemented on Devon Drive as part of this project were very successful. I mean, do you guys feel like the circulation around the school has improved? I mean, I know there's still some delays and backups like at the peak times, but the feedback that I've heard from the neighbors has overwhelmingly been positive about the volume moving around. I know when I pick my daughter up, we're always like, this is so nice, you know, complimenting all the rerouting that went into that. So I think that it's overwhelmingly was successful. The one thing I noticed when I was reviewing both of these reports is that somehow I think all of us accidentally omitted the intersection in front of the middle school. That wasn't included in the report at all. Like we kind of skipped that one and then included Crump and Eagleview. And I think arguably that intersection in front of Lineville Middle School is one of our most problematic and probably the most high risk situation that our students are in, just seeing them come across there, whether they're coming down from the high school or crossing from the middle school. So I don't know how we can revisit that. Like I said, I think on both of our parts, it was just an oversight looking at the list of intersections, but that's certainly a concern. I know that we've had incidents there, and anyone that has driven down 113 at middle school dismissal time, I think has like had a horrible feeling just about the number of kids that are building up on both sides. So I don't know if we can do a study involving that. I mean, it's not, to me, it's not so much like the data in the number of vehicles, but it's how we're going to make it safer for our kids. And that, I don't feel like that discussion always comes out of a traffic study, which is like more sterile and technical to me. So that was something I wanted to revisit today and just have a discussion. I know the principal at Lineville Middle School has dissuaded the kids from going across there. I don't know what else we can do as both a district and a township to either make improvements along that stretch or, just looking to have a dialogue on that today.
But at the middle school, there's a walls.
Yeah, I apologize. I wasn't in the study. I think frankly, I'll take the blame for not fully understanding the desire to look at the bigger picture and that we were coming off of a post-development of a high school expansion.
Yeah.
So middle school is not
I
necessarily.
mean, we don't have to assign blame. We all saw the list and none of us realized that it wasn't on there, but it's more just a discussion of like, how can we look at it now, I guess. And
Yeah, well, it certainly is, it's just a matter of committing to doing another study there. If you want to look at the data, then data would have to be collected. If it's just basically like an evaluation, school district could do just a simple evaluation of what are the existing facilities, in the engineer's opinion, are they safe, are they not safe? Or do they meet current PennDOT standards, that kind of stuff. And what, if anything, comes short of that, and what should be done that could make it safer, or not. Maybe it's about as good as it gets. I mean, it just.
And temporary plan for the. Lot of. Plan. So, and don't know if we need an additional classroom space or not, if the board doesn't. That's the main gist of it, either a separate cafeteria, separate. That would be the other.
Right. I mean, I guess my question is just, I don't know why we would wait to tie it to another land development process. Like, I don't feel like it should have to be part of a legally compelled process because, like I said, it was kind of an oversight in this last round. So my preference would be to revisit it now and start addressing it instead of just continuing to like put our projects into conditional use or plan approvals. I mean, I don't know what the timeline on a single intersection or a smaller scope study or conversation would look like, but it would be my preference to not have to wait for another plan submission, especially since they're really a lot of the traffic review that we're doing now, like he mentioned, is not tied to an increase in student. We're really cleaning up what has the situation that has existed, for a couple decades now. So that'd be my preference, is to just look at it.
I agree. And I mean, the middle school kids, they don't drive, they're walking around, and if the principal's not wanting the kids to cross the street, I'm pretty sure they're crossing anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, to have a inner school policy or whatever that they can't, like, I appreciate that they do that, but at the end of the day, when the school day's over and kids have been dismissed and they didn't take the bus, like, they're kids and they're just out in the community and they're going to go to Wawa and they're going to walk to Target Park and, go to Target. And so I think that we just have to continually be looking for opportunities to make that safer for them. Kind of going in conjunction with that intersection, the backside of Lineville Middle School, where the path goes out to Laurie Circle along Whitford. That was another area that I realized we didn't look at that does back up considerably. Yeah, it's very popular. I mean, kids come pouring out of there. They go left, they go right. And then parents will line up in Lori Circle to pick them up to escape the car line madness. So there is like a little bit of backup and it does clear up rather quickly. But that was another area that I noticed we didn't have like pedestrian counts or any backup, and that's a pretty like heavily traveled area. What else was I going to say about that? I know at one point we had brought up the question of whether the district had considered using crossing guards at any of the more heavily pedestrian travel area. There used to be one at Devon and Whitford.
That they need that.
Do you have a crossing guard at Downingtown West? Is there a guard at Downingtown West on a daily basis out front?
Fingers.
The other thing I had written down, we touched on a little bit. Obviously, the Rossi Park across the street is going to go through a whole park planning phase, and I think everyone involved in that committee has a pretty big challenge with figuring out how to safely marry those two sides of 113 together. I'm sure the district at some point will be involved in the discussion for some input on what that looks like, but I think a lot of the sidewalk discussion could be cleaned up at that time when we do the design layout and try to figure out how to connect those two, because I think that that's going to be an important area of the community for our students to utilize after school. Obviously, getting them across 113 safely is a big concern, but kind of expanding on the footprint of space that they have to hang out and spend their time is important. So I think that a lot of that can be worked out in this coming year through that process. I also had written down some notes just over some of the issues between the township, I won't say issues, but the conversations between the district and the township this year in regards to student parking, kind of a semi-traffic related issue. And I didn't know if there was any update related to where we left that off as far as students parking on adjacent streets
In the park.
and the
Definitely.
line vote. Well, I mean, I'll just anywhere outside of the student parking lot, just as an opportunity to discuss.
Lionville Park, we went on for this year, and the students parked there because they were construction at the beginning of the year. The contractor for parking, they response that they lost one parking lot to the left, and they pull in for construction. So we allowed the students to park at Lionville Park just for this year. And when that goes away, the end of the school.
Do we have like a 2 hour parking or something like that in that parking lot or?
Yeah, more than, you can only work for 2 hours from August to.
And then I was just going to ask the chief, summon him out of. I didn't know if you had any input into the conversation, just from your perspective, as far as the traffic or like morning, afternoon dismissal, what you're seeing.
Yeah, so I would. Our concern continues to be 113 in the area of the school. spoke with Principal Ross on a few occasions about it. They're trying to manage volume problem there, and it also has to do with those who are going to be accessing the roads who not wanting to wait for volume traffic. So then they go into the shopping center across the street, and they attempt to access the school there. What has been happening is they fill the intersection there, and as the light changes, they traffic. So until the traffic opens back up in that parking lot of the school, then they will filter. So that's the problem for us trying to figure out if there is even a way to manage it more appropriately. That's certainly the wrong issue.
So can we come to some kind of consensus about adding that intersection back into the study? I mean,
Should we be willing to add that intersection, whether it's part of part of this post-development traffic impact study or just one-off look, the traffic study of that intersection?
I mean, is the school district doing pedestrian safety studies? Or, I mean, is it, whose responsibility is it to make sure the students are safe? I'm guessing both of ours.
everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
Kids are all, when we have,
Once. No, I have no. Send this here and get it with Karen and Bobby, and they just get it all down, put it on paper and send it to me, and we'll run it up and see what we've got. So I think they can all take on some another study or something like that, and have to see whether we're involved in the budget.
Right. No, I appreciate that. I just, like I said, in my vision, it was always intended to be a part of this. I mean, I went back through the planning commission meeting minutes and the board of supervisor meeting minutes, and both of them included specifically the middle school there because we knew at that time that it was one of our higher risk areas. And so I just don't want to keep kicking the can down the road and saying we'll tie it into, like we can just work together because it's in both of our interests to get it done.
having now, your speakers that kind of really important.
Yeah, I mean, I think the data is important, and then I think having a conversation about what needs to happen as a result of that study and what we're seeing, certainly with input from the principal and others that are dealing with it on a daily basis. I just see it as a joint responsibility, and I don't want to keep saying, we'll do it with the next one. We'll do it like, if we know it's a problem now, I'd rather start the discussion now and be working on that issue.
Yeah, and as far as multimodal, I know that we talked about kids that want to ride their bikes to the high school. I think they talked about when we did the land development that it was going to be something that would be looked at after all the traffic stuff was done. But is that something that's still on the radar as far as bike lanes and kids that want to ride bikes? Is there a bike parking lot up there?
Yeah, so we really looked at how many kids we would have going to the middle school, high school, we made dedicated walking, that's close to the bus, that's it. So we haven't delved into, again, and I assume a biker would bike on the sidewalk, even though it's not really this practice. And I don't know, like, the roads through Marshwood or wherever, they're widening, they're biking, and then there's usually, everyone has to be circling, you know, space, measurement. So we haven't done anything to look into that, but, and again, I think one of the things that holds us back is not having crossing lines. It's really hard to find a crossing guard, and we all know, right, the around the world, I still remember when there was walls in Ridgewood, all of these there. And Devon Road. And I saw now by some said that it doesn't warrant light, but it's concerning because it's a little bit of a great intersection. Strangely enough, it's just so many trees like. I want to have crossing guard there, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that holds us back.
I think that if we were gonna really want to encourage biking, I would say that we need to start in the neighborhood. I mean, the last few feet up Devon, if you're talking about Marchwood, I mean, I do think it's a problem going from Woodford to the entrance on Devon. But even before that, I think to get parents comfortable with kids biking, we need to have, I think, dedicated and protected bike lanes within, at least on some of the major streets of Concord and Devon. Maybe in some of the other ones as well. And I think that that's something, if we want to do that and I want to do that, by the way, I think it would be good, but it's a longer term project. And I do think we have to think about, what those protected bike lanes would look like. I don't think striping is enough in my opinion. I would want to talk about that. So I think before we worry about the school being able to accept them, we have to be able to get the parents willing to, leave their own property, in a safe way. So, but I agree with the interest in that.
Just on that, I'll say that we've had some conversations, I think, either next year or the year after. We're gonna pursue some grant funds to put together an active transportation plan for the here. The board adopted the complete streets policy, or passed a resolution indicating support of complete streets. And kind of the next step in that is really putting together the active transportation plan. Looking at school route plans and particular bike lanes and sidewalk connections, trails, just all of those different elements that go into it. So that is definitely a plan that we want to put together and come up with some good tangible goals and what all of that would look like. We did put in the capital budget this year a little bit of money for protected bike lanes, almost like a proof of concept that we could probably work with building on. Maybe even finding a good place to just do a proof of concept, something small. This is what it would look like, or maybe even a couple of different iterations of potential options. We'll have this conversation. This budget we had. Perfect.
And I just have one more question regarding Devon and Whitford Road. I know that has for a long time been on the township's list of a potential stoplight location when it's warranted. Can you speak a little bit more about what the metric is for having it warranted? I mean, I know there's crash data that's looked at and volume, but like, where is the threshold according to your calculations that would put us over that?
Yeah, I was surprised that 9 crashes in 5 years wasn't enough. Personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are federal and state warrants that look at typically volumes, but crashes and pedestrian volumes are another metric that is looked at. Crash volume needed to warrant, or I don't believe really close there. It's not some crashes there. One of the warrants is called 4 hour warrant, where it certain volume thresholds of 4 hours a day. And it's typically geared to like say 2 hour element. It's busiest. And our numbers showed that 2 of the 4 hours do meet. So it's not like it's way off. It's like getting there, I guess I would say. maybe 2 to 4 hours. And I think the other 2 hours were close, you know, if you look at this graph that the agency put out, it's got a curve on it, and if your plotted points fall above it, that means below the curve, doesn't. So 2 of the points are above it, but 2 of the points are close.
Okay.
So it's close. Technically, it doesn't mean that. You know, there's the infamous political one, and if you can also, with enough cajoling and, you know, arguing and prodding, I think, you know, we went into PennDOT, so well, we need 2 to 4 hours, and 2 really close. We just had a pedestrian incident there recently or something, you know, like they you know, it wouldn't be the first time they approved something and they didn't meet what. So, you know, couldn't tell you that where we had standing on this location. Making the argument what would really sell them on, but
Right. No, I just knew it had been in our planning for a long time and I wasn't sure if we were close to, you know, working in that direction or not anywhere near. Great. Anyone have any other comments or questions about that? Anyone?
Some quick questions. Where did you pull your trash out of town? Over what time span?
it's just we do work with PennDOT.
Just looking at our portable.
Yeah, yeah, we can certainly contact you. More data is certainly helpful. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it's a 5. You're 6 to 5 years.
If you want to get in touch with me, I'll.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine.
Great. Any other comments, questions? All right, we'll move along to number 2, 2025 Transportation Improvement Inventory Submission to the Chester County Planning Commission discussion.
The Chester County Planning Commission is putting together the list of 2025 transportation improvements, improvement inventory, and those get put on a list to, one, identify when funding becomes available, but 2, it helps inform the transportation improvement priorities, which then goes to PennDOT. It's an approved process. They sent us a list of our existing projects, and then we went through our comprehensive plan and pulled out a number of new projects that we thought we would submit. And just wanted to talk through these real quickly with all of you. You know, in terms of the existing projects, we had Whitford and Devon signalization there. We have that as kind of inactive and keep the keep on the list. Newcomen and Ship adding turn lanes or signalization. Both of those are in our comp plan. Same thing, kind of inactive, keep on the list. 113 between RG Homes down to Eagleview Boulevard, Crump Road, that intersection. Safety and operational improvements to be done there, again, out of the comp plan. Whitford Road within the township, you know, turn lanes and safety and reconstruction, and that's a state road, so it's on the list, and we don't have a whole lot of control over, but we kept that on the list. There's a slip ramp for the turnpike at 113. We have that as kind of inactive, keep on the list until we figure out what's happening in that area. Again, the turnpike between 29 and Downingtown widening to 6 lanes doesn't actually involve us a whole lot, but it's active and underway. And then the improving 113 between Peck Road and the bypass. Again, we keep that on the list. So I don't know if you have any input in anything that we have there on the existing project list. just kind of jumping into some of the other projects, the new projects that we'd look to submit to them. The first is in a pedestrian safety improvement, kind of all the public transit stops in the township, adding bus shelters, physical shelters, and then kind of making those last mile connections through sidewalk improvements from existing sidewalks and ending at the new bus stops, really making improvements there. Devon Drive safety improvements, again, between 113 and Whitford. We know that a lot of what happened, the school district addressed a lot of what already occurred on Devon. However, there's other elements in our comp plan that contemplated for further up towards like the YMCA. And so we thought, let's pull it out, put it in there, put it on the list and kind of see what happens. That includes widening and median and channelization in the form of left turn lanes and various things. We even had a crazy idea in the comp plan of maybe thinking about a roundabout at that intersection of along Devon and things like that. So we have that. Dowland Forge and Deep Willow intersection safety improvements. That's at Dowland Forge and Deep Willow, the curb radii are need to be shortened for better sight distance at the intersection there. Haywood Drive extension between its existing terminus and Lineville Station Road. Again, pulled that out of the comp plan. We have expansion of our trail priorities. So as part of that, our Park and Rec Committee came up with a list of 20 trail connections or 19 trail connections that they recommended. And so just put that in as a single project, just generally those trail connections. And then we pulled one out specifically for connecting Newcomen and Valley Hill, just because we're actively working with Bowman on some design options there and get that particular trail on the list. Again, pedestrian safety improvements, the turnpike at either Eagleview Boulevard or Gordon Drive, building a pedestrian bridge over Route 100 at Cherie Boulevard, and then potentially one over the turnpike at either Eagleview Boulevard or Gordon Drive. That those would enable full build out of the connected walking trails and improve pedestrian safety there. And then widening 113 across Route 100. Again, that was in our comp plan. So I don't know if you have any feedback or thoughts on any of those concerns, anything that we missed.
Sounds great. I have a question, like, once these are submitted back to the county, can you talk a little bit about the process of, like, they just go through them all every year and prioritize them or decide, like, how do they?
They do. There's a whole prioritization process that they go through. Probably, I don't think anybody in the room would be surprised by their funding status and whether there's any funding partners involved help drive a lot of that prioritization. But ultimately, this will be the township, the planning commission, the county planning commission will have the list of projects that are important to the township. And then as different funding opportunities come up, they'll look to that list and they may call and say, hey, your number was pulled and
It's your lucky day.
Right. They also go into just generally every 2 years, the county updates the transportation improvement priorities list. And then that goes to the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, represents the county's priority projects. And so a lot of that, things like the trail connections, the county has an overall trail connection priority and those will get added to that. And it just helps in terms of funding and different pieces there.
Sounds good. Any questions or comments about that?
No.
Any public comment? Nope. All right, we'll move along to number 3, discussion on long-range financial plan proposal from TFM.
With us today are Gordon and Jamie from PFM, our financial advisors. We put together our 5-year capital plan as part of the budget this for 2025, and have had some conversation with them around just really looking at our financial structure and the way that we go about financing projects and making sure that we're able to make the dollars that we do have, how we can stretch them the best and best utilize them. And so they put together this kind of long range financial plan proposal for us, and we thought it'd be good for them to come in and just generally give an overview of it, have an opportunity for you to ask any questions and talk through that, so we can figure out what direction we want to go with that. So. Yeah.
So good to see everybody. We have kind of 2 pieces of PFM's business. I was here when I was last talking with the Rossi property when we were purchasing that. So it kind of works a little bit backwards here, where you had an opportunity to acquire a large piece of property just before you go into the EIT, and we kind of help facilitate the process to kind of get to the debt issuance side to acquire that. And then the second piece of our business is really what Gordon does day to day, which is kind of the operational side of things and looking at kind of long-term forecasting and strategies for implementing and ultimately paying for the type of things that you're trying to accomplish. And I would just state on from my perspective of my world of the debt side, and specifically where we are today with significant volatility in the market, as well as potential changes to tax exemption, funding that's coming from different areas. This is even more of a reason to be doing kind of long-term planning and forecasting to implement what-if scenarios and other items that be relevant for you when you're looking for the long-term goals of the township. So I'll kind of give you my piece of the side of the world when the time comes to talk about the debt and kind of financial related matters tied to credit ratings. But Gordon's specialty and his team are vastly superior to mine when it comes to this type of thing. So Gordon's.
Well, I live up to that. I'm Gordon Mann. I'm from Public Financial Management. I work around the Commonwealth with a variety of different communities, counties, boroughs, townships, cities, doing these kind of financial planning engagements. Financial plans are something that they recommend for all Pennsylvania municipalities. If you're in trouble, which you certainly are not, you have to do them by law. If you are well run, as Chester County is, you do them by your own effort. And we've done things like this with other communities around. We did East Whiteland, we did for Providence, we've done some different communities. And it's actually very similar to the second thing that you were just talking about. You're talking about how does the county think about their transportation projects, and they have a list and they prioritize it and they look at the funding sources and they say, today's your lucky day. This would be in essence kind of a similar thing. You would have a list of capital projects. They might be related to roads and schools. They might be related to transportation, sewer lines. There's different funding sources for these different things. The building we're standing in, large vehicles, computers, that sorts of things. So you have a list of needs on one side that will always change. It will change because things break and things get old and new needs arise. And then you have a list of funding sources. You can kind of think of them in 3 big buckets. You've got debt. Jamie is the master of. Sure, it's a good thing to be master of, but Jamie is the master of. You have a series of grants, whether they're county or they're state or they're federal. And then you have your own funds in terms of, are there things you pay for with cash? Are there things where you borrow money and then pay off the bonds over time? And then how do you mix all of those 3 together? So the plan is intended to be a working document, be a fluid document, and it's really, you have a motto, planning is better than plans. This isn't about creating a really super cool 300-page document with a neat cover on it. This is about empowering you with the information that you have in the process that would be helpful to make decisions as you go, right? We need to do this thing here. We need to fix the way the traffic flows around our middle school. These are the funding sources. These are the other priorities. This is our resources. How do we bring them together? we're not going to do that right now, but we need to do it in the next 3 years. So what are the things that we need to move around to get ready for that, to make those priorities? So that's in essence what we do. We can get into the technical side of how we do it, but that's a general introduction.
I have nothing major. Except that in bigger picture of, we sat there in the transaction last year and we felt very comfortable that the capital was going to be, very valued from the credit worthiness. And we teetering on the AAA, we ended up with AA plus status. One of the things that we want to make sure of when we're getting to the next level was the things that drive you to that next level are having strong management and policies and procedures. There's a separate level. That wasn't certainly a negative in any way. Township that you can get the next level up by having things like long-term financial forecasts, long-term capital improvement plans, debt policies, fund balance policies, investment policies, many of which you either updated or increased over the last year or so. This could be one extra step that I believe, when we go toward the next financing or during future surveillance, could be a credit positive to you. And I would hope that we get to that AAA status from that standpoint. So although I can't tell you quantitatively that this will automatically happen for you, is a major step on the piece of the process from a taxpayer standpoint. You get that next level up, a little more spread on your costs, that saves taxpayers money. So little small signs other than that.
What's the difference kind of going from AA plus where the township is now to AAA? We're talking like 5 or 10 basis points or 100 basis points in terms of.
So, to where we go today in the market is flight to quality. People want to invest in strong financial related places. So they go to the cheapest treasury bonds. Your ratings higher than this program. But that's it. Getting to that AAA status, you're probably getting 5 to 15 basis point reduction in interest rates, and that has a lot of value, especially when you're talking about capital needs. Potentially $1 million over the next, 5 to 10 years. That saves us significantly. And we'll probably be considering long-term issues, 20 or 25-year debt issues, which amortizes over a period of time, so it's value. Yeah, not to make it, you're going to save all your money, pay, them to do the work, but it's a nice little add. I think that people like you to do that.
Great. Thank you. Anyone have questions, comments?
I think we can talk internally about, what the.
Just talk about time. Seconds, maybe have some value once you're out. Start. Something we discussed in the
April.
Which young things are.
I mean, we'll probably have some additional dialogue. My hope would be that we'd have this at next week's board meeting for consideration, and then be able to get.
Great. Thank you very much. Nice to see you too. With that, I will open it up to the public for any comments today. Not seeing any. Is there a motion to adjourn? So moved.